Thank you for joining the ETRAGE webinar. Today we're going to look at the what and how to push data from Windchill into your ERP. This will hopefully eliminate current manual efforts and human error along the way. Please note that everyone is muted. You will need to use that Q&A icon for your questions, and you can submit those questions at any point, though we will answer those towards the end of today's session. Additionally, a recording of today's webinar will be available online for rewatch and sharing, and everyone who is registered will receive a link via email once that video is available later this week. Again, thanks for being here. I'm Sinead, and joining me today is Ephraim, our PLM manager. We have both been in the PTC and manufacturing space for over a decade, and our team works hand in hand with design and manufacturing companies on their PLM adoption, whether that's a first-time implementation, if you're looking to expand from product data management to lifecycle management, maybe you need to tune your processes or simplify how all departments are involved in your digital thread. Additionally, we can provide solutions for gaps within your digital thread to address your specific business needs. So today's agenda, I'll do a very brief introduction to ETRAGE, and then I'll hand things over to Ephraim, who will walk you through the what and how of moving data, especially BOMs, into your ERP from Windchill, and then we'll have time for your questions. So ETRAGE has been a PTC partner for over 20 years. We started as a software development company, and over the years we've expanded our offerings to support product lifecycle management adoption, really looking at extending beyond the engineering and design departments and across your entire manufacturing enterprise. Our global development and support teams address your PLM adoption by supporting the systems, the processes, and the people. Whether you are a startup or have been in business for over 100 years, all of our software solutions have been developed through a request of a company like yours. So that means that if you have an issue, talk to us, and we're happy to develop or configure a solution that fits your specific business needs. And with that, Ephraim, I hand it over to you.
Thanks, Sinead. And yeah, welcome everybody. I thought I should start by just explaining high-level roles of PLM versus ERP system. So starting with the PLM, in this case, we'll make a Windchill as an example, is the PLM role is to capture and manages the product definition. So what and how the product is being built. So the PLM supports the ideation, the detailed design, things like simulation, prototype, basically the inception of the product, detailed design of it, until you get to the point where that data gets released for production. So it also handles, the engineering change notices. So the engineering configuration, change configuration, the configuration management of the product itself, and depending on how it's been set up, it can also, handle things like compliance relating to that product. It also manages product variants as well as families very effectively. So if you have a different, not versions, but different variants of that product, there is a way to manage that in Windchill using the overloaded bill of material that is configurable to get your end product configuration. It also facilitates the cross-functional collaboration. So it enables space where the engineering and manufacturing can work together. So as soon as engineering data is available, the manufacturing guys do not have to wait for that data to be released for them to start building the manufacturing bill of materials. and everything that goes with it. So essentially, it enables the digital thread for that product. It's actually the beginning of that digital thread. Whereas on the ERP side, also high level, it is to execute the production planning, product scheduling, and shop floor activities. What needs to happen on the shop floor, and what sort of product and product assemblies and sub-assemblies we'll be using on the shop floor. It also manages the procurement of these materials that are to build this, take care of the inventory, the warehousing, and the logistics of this product information, or physical product information. It also handles the costing of manufacturing this product, anything around the finances around it, order fulfillments, and any after sales activities that needs to be undertaken once the product goes out the door. It basically focuses on the operational efficiency, resource optimizations, and the business performance metrics. So the two overlaps on BOM, so right here at the middle, BOM and the manufacturing data. So the best practice is to maintain this rich data in PLM, and then push a controlled view of manufacturing down to your ERP system. Just to quickly explain different BOMs that a PLM such as this would be able to handle and push down to ERP. In the main is the engineering BOM, engineering BOM, or what you normally call EBOM. So this is normally created during the design phase of that product. So it focuses on the functional design of your product. So it typically generated by the engineers using a CAD application, any CAD software, to build that. And as I said, it focuses on how the product is being designed and how parts relate to each other functionally. Whereas the MBOM, or manufacturing BOM, translates that design BOM into a production plan. It focuses on how that product will actually be built on the factory floor. Okay, so it looks at things like, other than the bill of material MBOM itself, it will focus on things like, assembly sequences, manufacturing processes, and logistics that goes with it. Some of the BOMs that can be managed in Windchill using some of the PTC's modules is the service BOM, which is the aftermarket information, of all the parts that are required to maintain, or documents that is required to maintain and repair a product once it's out the door or out in the field. There's other BOMs that you can also handle, like sales BOM, especially when you have configurable, modules. Sales could use sales BOM, to build a product configuration based on to sell the product. That is where the strength of Windchill basically sits, because it's part-centric. You're able to, it allows you to create all these different BOMs that are interlinked, and when something changes upstream, it flex on the BOM downstream. So they're all connected, and you're working with the same data in the same time. And you also have tools that assist you, to create these different BOMs. And also, at the end, just before you release, there's tools that you can also use to compare your BOM and just make sure that all the, EBOM has been consumed in the MBOM. So integrating Windchill, with or any PLM with an ERP, in the main eliminates the manual re-entry or entry of this data, which is often the primary source for issues and errors that we encounter later on in manufacturing. So when you automate this flow of your EBOM data, your MBOMs, depending on the ERP system, you can also push things like drawings, documents that goes with this product. It is very essential in creating that digital thread, making sure that we have this single source of truth that ensures that what was designed is exactly what gets built and costed at the end of the day. So with the ERP system, that is actually getting data from PLM, but there is no connection. There's challenges to that. So I mean, first one being because it's the manual BOM transfer. Generally, that will take time because it needs a human being to sit behind the computer and put this information into the ERP system. So it involves the reformatting that they have to do in that process also. And because of entry errors, it will also delay manufacturing and cause reworks and can be very costly to the company. So for example, I mean, it takes 15 to 20 minutes per BOM to be manually captured in an ERP system, just as an example. This could easily total to 15 hours plus, 15 hours plus hours monthly for an engineer's man hours. And I mean, this information is according to CAD Talk study that they did for one company that's called Pump and Ablation Technologies. And the other example that we can also, put forward on this that relates, especially on the cost part of it, is that if an engineering time on manual BOM entry is calculated for, 10 engineers that are spending about 6 hours, weekly on manually transferring that BOM into the ERP, and they cost the customer a rate of $75 an hour. That loaded rate, if you put it annually, that will cost the company $236K in pure salary cost for work that, I mean, at the end of the day doesn't really add value. It adds zero value because this is something that can actually be automated or resolved by being just automated. And this will also cause the issue where manufacturing data that they're working on could be out of sync with the engineering data, which means they could be working on obsolete drawings to be actually manufacturing on the shop floor. And again, because of this disconnect, drawings gets delivered through other methods such as emails or information will just be shared through spreadsheets, resulting in the delayed product delivery. And also this will also, present lack of traceability from design change to production impact. If something changes upstream, if that change is not physically communicated in a meeting, it's very difficult to get that information downstream, unless if it's pushed automatically for those downstream users to see and use. And obviously this will extend the time to get that product out the door, while at the same time costing the company money. Example here can be money wasted on a wrong steel plates, from just a simple thing such as a decimal point error. So instead of someone punching in 2 centimeter thickness, as an example, they would go in and make an error and type 0.2 centimeter. So once you receive that material is completely unusable. You can't even rework that material because it's a smaller thickness as compared to what you need. If it was the other way around, with the rework, you might get to that, but also the rework will always cause delays in the system. How do we simply deliver this information from Windchill into an output that's ready for ERP consumption? So on the Windchill side, as a best practice would be to use the WT pads. So if you're currently not using WT pads, the best roadmap would be to implement WT parts and make sure that things like change processes are in place to be able to execute this. But for smaller companies that do not see the need for WT parts, our solution, which is ETRAGE Publisher, the ERP part of it, it also allows you to just generate that bit of material from the CAD structure itself. So there's a way that we can work around that. So that WT part structure allows you to bridge, your CAD design or WT structure to your ERP items, and then using a release process where you release information to or your objects to a release state, or formally through a change notice. That process will then start the generation, or it will trigger the process of publishing this information. And then our publisher, which would sit in the middle here, will then go in and generate a bill of material out. If it's set up to also generate things like drawings as part of those, it will do that. Any change notice information that goes with this, we can generate that. So it basically generates that, sends it to a distribution target that your ERP system will either listen to that location, and as soon as a file is dropped in there, it will quickly pick that file and put it into the ERP system, or using the API calls from that ERP system, you'll be able to pull that information and bring it into the system. So depending on whatever format that the ERP will require, we're able to build that output ERP ready file using our ETRAGE Publisher software. And just to explain high level how it works is our ETRAGE Publisher ERP connector just works one direction. It's one directional, so it will only push data from a PLM to ERP system today. So this will only obviously happen when an object is being released for production, or whatever state you want to release for. Some customers will do it even for prototype as well. And then, as I said, there's different formats that we support. So as of today, we support the Excel output in the JSON output format that will be generated and available and ready for your ERP consumption. And the system allows you to also change the distribution target as needed. So anyone who has access to the ERP connector publisher can basically go in and set a distribution target where this file will be dropped. So the path is not hard coded into the ERP connector itself. And it's also easy to add and remove attributes, metadata as required. Very easy to do that with very less customization that goes into that. So just to quickly explain the architecture of how this whole thing works, this publishing works. High level is any source information that comes from any PLM, in this case Windchill and Teamcenter, or data that's coming from like a network drive, can be used as the source to be published to any format that the customer require. So in most cases will be drawings to PDF, CAD files to STEP and IGES, and those sort of output formats. And then our publisher will process that and then generate that output to this distribution destination, as you see them on the far right here. But today our focus is just on the Windchill, the publishing of the BOM or ERP ready BOM, and then pulling that into an ERP system. So with that, I'll take you through the demonstration of the application itself. So I am using Windchill 13.1 to demonstrate this. And in Windchill here, I have a component that we have installed, an ETRAGE publisher component that we have installed that will generate that information based on certain triggers. So in this case, it will be when our product is being released. It will then generate that BOM for us. And then from the system itself here, I'll also be able to see number of jobs that are in the queue to be published. So I'll show you this as soon as we start publishing. Then the second thing that we'll be doing is this is the module that we will be publishing into our ERP system. It's a drill 600 assembly that we'll be pushing out there. And then for our ERP system, we're using the open BOM system to pull that data in. So once this BOM is being released, it will then generate the output BOM in a JSON and an Excel format into this path. So we will just need to use that Excel format to pull into our ERP system over here. For the monitoring of this, this is our publisher system that we will be using. So how it works is every minute it will look into Windchill to see if there's any jobs it needs to process, and then it will then process them. So this has been set up with my Windchill system and the account that will authenticate this publishing. And then as it publishes, I'm able to see it on this page here. So we can see that it's at this stage it's not finding anything in there. So we will go ahead and initiate that process. So if I go to the structure quickly here, let's just load it. So this is just to show you the structure in Windchill. You will see that this structure has some of the sub-assemblies as part of it here. Some of the sub-assemblies, I've already published them into the ERP, but you'll see when we publish this top-level assembly, the structure has already been published, and it'll obviously automatically link to this because the part numbers are exactly the same. So it doesn't recreate that sub-assembly and then relink it. So if it already exists, it allows it to automatically just reattach that based on the number. And if I quickly go back into my ERP system here, so in a traditional way, how they will create the bill of material here is someone will sit with a drawing and then create a BOM based on that drawing, manually create a BOM. Depending on how your system is set up, they'll pick the category, and then they'll have to select an assembly and that is already in the PLM system that they've already created in the PLM system as an item or a master. And then from here, they will create, and then once they get to the next step, they'll then add those sub-components. That is where the error comes in, because a drawing would have that has like say 100 components on it, that creates a room for errors if someone is sitting in front of the PC and trying to capture that, and being also under pressure to capture it within a specific time. So to create individual components, it will be just the items on here, then you create your item, and after creating that item, you can then go in and attach it to the bill of materials. So just a quick rundown of the ERP here. All of our items are in here. So you can see from here that I can also push things like images. So the PVC images that goes with the export from Windchill, and then automatically create the images for me as well. And then if I go to all BOMs here, we'll see that these are some of the BOMs that are already been loaded into the system. So this is the one that is not on the list here that we will be releasing now and introducing it into our system here. So at this stage, I'll go in and just release my bill of material. I can release this by just going in and creating a change notice for it, and have a proper, approval process, review process, and get that released. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to go in and just manually release this by just changing the state and hit released. So that component is now released. And now if I go back to my system request list on the Windchill side, I can now see that the job is now added. It has not been started yet. And then there is the action that will happen. It will create a BOM output for us. So if I go back to my publisher here, you'll see after a minute or so, it will start processing that. But I mean, looking at this bit of material, I just want you to, with its sub-assemblies, I just want you to note how quick it takes to actually generate that entire bit of material from here. So this is done. The bit of material has been generated and then is now created in here. So, and as I said, for this purpose, we will be using the Excel to import. But one other thing that I wanted to show you is with this bit of material here, I don't really need this second row. So as part of the ERP transformation, you can create some scripts that would go in and remove, that will go in and actually remove that entry for me automatically without having to without having to manually open these files and do that. So there's a script that I've created that's called ERP prep here. So if I run the script, so it will just open up that file and then just remove that entry for me. And if I go back, this file is being prepped now. So at this stage, I'll go in and import that file into ERP. But at this stage, I want to stress something. I will be importing that Excel file manually into the system and create this bit of material. But the important thing to mention here is what I will be doing is something that can be automated. So working with your ERP expert, they can create listeners that will look into that folder that I've just that we've just created this file in. Look at this, and as soon as new files are introduced in this, you'll go in and pull those files and create those items and the BOMs in Windchill for you automatically. The other way of doing it with recent REST technologies is you can use the API calls now to listen to or to read from those folders, and once there's new data, using the API pull and then create using the API create BOM endpoint. So in this case, I'll then go ahead and create my BOM by using the import functionality here, and then I'll take my file here and drop it on the let it to automatically define every other information for me and then import it. Also, with this, I mean, I'll go and show you the bill of material structure now. Just check how quick it is to just load that particular structure. Information will be in there. So I didn't pull things like revisions, but you can pull things like revisions, custom attributes like thickness, things like material. That information is already available in PLM. Why have to recreate it this side? You can quickly just import that. The only sort of thing you have to manually do from the ERP side will be to just add information about what we have in stock. So the inventory quantity that we have for those particular objects. So in here, I can also go in and say, show me the multi-level view of this as it is in the Windchill side. And already from here, I can see those are the structures, and the quantity also pulled in directly from Windchill, and everything is correct. So no need to manually, punch in anything. So with this particular BOM, this took us a couple of seconds to do. And remember, I did this manually, I pulled this manually. Now, if you remove that manual bit that I did to this, you'll realize this took about 4 or 5 seconds to create. So in an automated mode, that's how long it will take. And as soon as a change gets released or gets approved, it will automatically generate those files and automatically pull them, based on those APIs, those listeners that you would have created. So then from here, if I go to my bit of material, I can see it's been created, and I can see the entire structure from here. So if anything has to be done on here, things like cost and quantity in hand, they'll just have to add that information. That's all. Okay, so I'll quickly jump back to my presentation here, maybe to just highlight. Sorry, I'm trying to get my presentation going here. Just to highlight the benefits of this. I mean, with what we've just seen now, this reduced the manual effort with about 80 to 90% in data transformation. So manual entries, if you look at the one example we made earlier, the manual entry that takes about 15 to 20 minutes per BOM will be reduced to about 2 to 3 minutes per BOM, even less. If you put automation on top of that, it takes it to seconds even. And again, things like this, because it eliminates errors, it also in the process shortens the procurement lead time while ensuring parts accuracy. We're getting accurate parts for those long lead item parts. Because we know for long lead item, that opportunity cost is the most hidden danger of this whole thing. While a typo on just a short lead item that will be available, let's say in 2 days, can be very annoying, but we still know that we're only getting a delay in 2 days. But now think about a typo of a long lead item that will be available in 6 months as an example. That can easily result in the loss of that contract, liquidated damages that could be filed against the company. Also things like the market reputation of the company could be on the line as well. Because what this means is the product that the customer expected in 7 months, because of this long lead items for 6 months, they will only get it after a year, after 12 months, or even more than that. Yeah. So this basically, decrease the errors drastically, and also, issues related to rework based on the change notice will always be reduced as well. And because of this, data is being quickly released for manufacturing. We don't have to wait for a week for all the BOM, or for 3 days for all the entire BOM to be loaded. It can be loaded in a few seconds into the ERP system, improving traceability and making sure that we're working with the same data, end to end. And I mean, the other thing with this is, it enables that collaboration between engineering and someone on the operations side. Then you ask yourself, how do we get this implemented in our system? There is, a roadmap that you should go through to just see what's involved in getting you to that point. I mean, the important bit is to also define what is maintained in the PLM system versus what is maintained in the ERP. Because as I said, especially with EBOM and MBOM, because I did mention that the MBOM, and additional things like manufacturing processes can be managed in Windchill as well. But obviously before you do that, you need to, strike that definite know of, are we just maintaining EBOM in Windchill so that we know that what we're pushing out is the EBOM. But if we're maintaining MBOM in Windchill as well, then we know what we're pushing out is MBOM. Once that's done, we then map the data field, what needs to be pushed into the ERP, so the description, the number, the material parameter, and when do we push this? Is it only when something is being released through a change notice, or is it when something is being released with change notice plus when it's released by just a change of state? And then we pilot that in one of your product, just one small product, pilot that, and then if there's any changes that needs to be done, we look at those, and when do we, when is information being released, and what happens if something gets changed? Look at what governs the revision rules, the effectivity when we stop using the old revision, start using the new, and of course the testing process. This is how you go in and test the entire process. And lastly, it is training and then the adoption process by the customer. That is high level, very high level roadmap on how to get the ERP integration fully implemented. At this stage, I'm going to throw it back to you, Sinead, just to take us through the remaining slides.
Great. Thanks, Ephraim. Yes, so ETRAGE would love to assist you in investigating what you need to get started on these benefits, as well as putting into place an implementation plan. So our call to action is we are offering a 30-minute no-cost consultation to help you guys. We'll help create a basic roadmap for your company, and we'll provide you with documentation of the what, when, and even budgetary costs so that you can share with your stakeholders and help to make real plans around an implementation. We know that there's no obligation to us after this session, so we highly recommend you take advantage of this. As Ephraim mentioned, most ERPs have listeners to automate the loading of your BOMs. So we can work with, whether it's your in-house experts or if you have an ERP partner, we can work with them as well once you decide to move forward with an implementation to make it as automated of a process as possible. So at this time, if there are any questions about today's session, please again use that question mark icon and you can type in there and we'll get to as many as possible if there are any. And if we run out of time, we'll make sure that we address those via email after today's session. So while we wait and give you some time to think about what you want to ask, we did want to let you know that ETRAGE presents design and manufacturing webinars every 2 weeks. So if you're interested, check out our website, etrage.com, to see what that upcoming schedule is. We also provide public and private Creo and Windchill training. And on your screen, you can see that over the next 6 weeks, we do have a couple webinars, which include Windchill upgrades and non-CAD document management. Again, upcoming classes can also be found at etrage.com. So with that, I will see if there are any questions yet. I'm not seeing anything typed out quite yet. If you are not familiar with ETRAGE, please visit our website. You can find a lot about both our software and service solutions. On there, you can see past webinars, as well as on our ETRAGE YouTube channel. For example, if you are interested in pushing BOMs into your ERP, but you have not implemented WT parts, you can find out more information about WT parts implementation, as well as an ETRAGE software solution. It's an add-on to anyone who uses our viewer to see the data across your organization. For those non-Windchill users, you can also push WT parts into that system as well, or ECNs. There's a lot of options if you're trying to avoid training people on using Windchill who maybe don't use it on a daily basis. Looking to see, still no questions. So with that, we'll wrap it up for today. We are happy to talk to you about any of the challenges you're having, whether it's around connecting your Windchill to ERP or anything around your PLM adoption, especially if you're looking to move from basic CAD vaulting to PLM. Happy to have those discussions. And with that, I would remind you that we will send out a link of today's recording so that you can rewatch or share with your colleagues. And ETRAGE thanks you for spending time with us today. We will see you next time.